What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the episode 6 of the Pitchers Pulse podcast. This show, we're going to sit down with pitchers across the college and pro levels to talk baseball, the grind, and why we love the game. I'm your host, Tyler, and today's episode is a special one, not just because of who's sitting across the screen from me, but he's got a story action packed with a lot over 17 years of pro ball and much more beyond that. A lot of experience, perseverance, and a whole lot of heart. Today I'm joined by a former major leaguer and cousin, Dan Straily. He's pitched in the game, crossed many teams in the big leagues for many years overseas, and got a unique perspective that I think a lot of you, whether you're playing college, little league, whatever it is, or just a fan, are going to connect with. So let's dive into it. Dan, welcome to the show, man. Let's talk some baseball.
Let's do it, dude. Thanks for having me.
Let's take it way back before MLB, before career, before the big moments. What was young Dan like off the field?
Young Dan off the field. I grew up in a time where we didn't have travel ball. I grew up in an area, little town of 12,000 people. Dan played Little League baseball. That was it. Like we showed up to the city parks for a few practices and played Little League baseball. Young Dan made one All-Star team at age 10 and then made one All-Star team at age 15. And that was it. It wasn't like this glamour story of like, all this travel ball and all the all-star teams and the state titles and this, like, that wasn't my journey. That wasn't my path. So young Dan was very passionate about baseball, loved baseball. Very fortunate. My dad took me to, once we moved to Oregon from California, my dad took me to all of the Dodger games up in Seattle every year, back when they used to do that yearly. And I just had a huge passion for the game, man. I stunk at it. But I absolutely loved it, and I just kept working at it, kept working at it. I was a late bloomer.
Definitely. What were your first memories of pitching like?
Man, so my very first memory of pitching was I was like 11 or 12, and we were playing, a big Little League game, and I threw like close to 100 pitches, and we won the game. And like all I remember was one of the other coaches stopping and like basically like ripping my dad apart for like letting me throw that many pitches. And it was just one of those deals where, like, as a kid, like, I'm not worried about pitch count, right? You just want to play. You just want to pitch. You just want to, whatever it is, like, you're not thinking about those kind of things. And so I felt like that was like, obviously it's a negative thing, but like, I felt like that was like one of my earliest memories of pitching was just that right there. Other than that, like, my dad built me a batting cage in our backyard, and there was a pitching mound next to it. And there was this guy named Daisuke Matsuzaka that was pitching for the Red Sox at the time, and he would talk about throwing these like 100 pitch bullpens all the time. And I remember going out back and like throwing to this net daily, like way too many pitches. Like now that I know what I know, like I would never let my kid do that. But like I was out there throwing like 100 pitches a day into this net, just, and if I missed the net, the ball went bouncing out into the pasture. So like I had to go really do a good job, if unless I wanted to go dig through a bunch of tall weeds and try to find all the baseballs that I had, because baseballs were not unlimited supply, right? Like I had what I had in the bucket, and I didn't want to lose them.
Definitely. I mean, that's important. Nowadays, it's a lot different, especially for kids growing up compared to what you had in the early 2000s or so,
Right.
I should say. But take us back to, when did you like really fall in love with the game? Everybody has their own path. I know yours is a little bit different from mine, but what led you just to fall in love with the game as a kid?
I think it was just the fact that Dad had baseball on the TV every single day, right? Like it was talked about. It was everything was Dodger baseball in our house, being from Southern California, and we just there was like no other option. Like at nighttime, you were not changing the TV. Dad had the Dodger game on all summer long, right? And just doing that, like I was a huge Mike Piazza fan. I don't know why, like I couldn't tell you like anything about him as a kid. Like I just like loved the Dodgers and loved Mike Piazza because of it. And when we moved to Oregon, like it stayed with me. Like I just in the summertime was when we had TV. Like we didn't have TV year round. We got satellite during the summer, and we had like the Yes Network, TBS, WGN, and KTLA, along with whatever the Mariners was back at that point, probably Fox Sports. But it was like I just would watch baseball because you could start, the 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The East Coast was playing night games, or during the Cubs were playing day games every day back then. So I could always catch a game at like 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning, and I just would. I'd have baseball on TV all the time. When I wasn't watching it, I was outside throwing baseballs, playing around. Like I just loved baseball. I don't really have like a come to Jesus moment with it where it was like this like aha like I love this so much. It's just who I was as a kid. I was just always ingrained in every aspect of the game as a kid.
Definitely, and I love that honestly. That's kind of like how I grew up, anyways, and how I fell in love with it. Similar to you, watching Dodger baseball every day. But other than that, like playing in high school, yours was a lot different. Especially, I know we've had conversations about it. Your route in high school is way different than mine. But were there any like people or guys on your team that helped you have like defining games, or people that you'll never forget on those high school years?
Yeah, so I'm gonna backtrack just 1 second. So like I got called into like my science teacher was our baseball coach my freshman year, and I got called into his classroom back when he was like kind of announcing the team, and like we didn't have a ton of kids at our high school, so everyone that showed up for baseball typically made the team. But my class we had a lot of people, and so he kind of called me in and was like, "Hey, you're not gonna make the team, but we want you to stick around and catch bullpens. We know you love the game. Like everyone loves being around, but like you're not gonna be playing." And so like I caught bullpens through batting practice, like literally all the stuff that like it just like doesn't make sense to like stick with it. But I did. And that year I think I played third base for like 1 inning when we were losing by a bunch, and I had one at bat. That was my whole entire freshman year. 1 inning at third base, like not one game, 1 inning at third base, and one at bat the whole year. And I'm sure that like I had conversations with my parents throughout it. I'm sure that there was other stuff, but I don't remember. And I just still stuck with it and loved it. The next year, I was a little bigger kid, by the way. Let me preface it with this: like I wasn't exactly an athletic young man. And so my sophomore year, I was finishing up football season, and this man named Travis Zander um, pulled me aside at the end of football season, and he was like, "Hey, if you want to play baseball for me," he was the JV baseball coach. He said, "If you want to play baseball for me in the spring, I'm gonna need you to wrestle for me in the winter, and we're gonna get you stronger, and we're gonna cut some pounds, and we're gonna get you more athletic, so you can actually play the game that you really love." Because everybody knew that like I played football because it's what all my friends did. Like yeah, I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't my passion. Like I just liked playing. And so that year I caught a little growth spurt and went from like 220 pounds as a sophomore in high school to 190 pounds as a sophomore in high school. And that year I think I threw like probably like 30 innings and was playing a lot more. And let's put it this way, when I retired a few weeks ago, one of the first people I called was Travis Zander, and called him to thank him for being the man he was and being able to talk to me in such a way as a kid that impacted my life at such a level. In a probably 5 minute conversation in passing, he changed my life. And to this day, Travis will always have a special place in my heart. He knows it, because I don't think I'd be where I am today. I don't think I would have had the baseball success if I didn't have someone like that in my life to gracefully tell me, "Hey, dude, you got to change some things if you wanna play baseball." I can't imagine that's an easy thing to say. I can't imagine myself walking over to a freshman in high school right now and being like, "Hey, bud, if you want to play, like you gotta get stronger, faster, and lose weight because you're not built like a baseball player." And nowadays you might get in a lot of trouble for saying that to a kid too. And I think because of the way I was raised, I didn't take that as like a huge negative thing, right? I took it as like if you want to do what you want to do, this is the route you have to take. And so that year, my dad, both of our dads, but growing up in fire families, my dad was working 2 days out of four, right? Or 2 days, was it 2 on, 4 off, whatever? Yeah, so 2 out of 6 he was working, and so I'd go down to the fire station and throw on a sweatshirt and get on the elliptical, get on the treadmill, get on the bike, whatever I could do, and we'd go visit for a couple hours at night, have dinner, and I was just after wrestling practice, they were doing cardio, trying to just lose weight the only way I knew, which was move. And so it really changed my life. And then after that, going into my junior year, my parents, they moved us across the state of Oregon. And so when I got to my new high school, the same man, Travis, called over to the new high school and said, "You guys are, I don't know exactly what he said, but he told them that they were getting a hardworking young man that just passionate about the game of baseball." So I showed up and they were like, "What position do you play?" And I was like, "Well, catch, first, second, third, corner, outfield, pitch, whatever you need, like I'm there." And like that was what I did. Like that was, like what I did in Babe Ruth. That's what I did in Little League, and I was like, kind of played everywhere. And I got to the new school, and no one knew the story of sophomore Dan, right? Like they just see the kid that's in front of him right now. And before you know it, I'm batting third on that team and throwing the most innings on the mound and playing first base so I don't throw too much in between pitching outings, and it just really changed the trajectory of my life. So while I don't have like a specific player that like, was that, I have a coach that impacted my life so greatly that like I'll never forget him.
That's awesome. And everybody has that one person in their life that can change the trajectory of something. And that's just, I love that. And that's something I've heard a little bit about, but haven't known completely about. But that's awesome because you became still are a great ball player at the end of the day, and love watching you, whether you're in college or playing in a big stadium. But transitioning a little bit, did you always dream about playing in the big leagues, or was it more of like a gradual realization, like, hey, I kind of want to do this?
So I was good enough out of high school to land a D2 scholarship, and it was barely a scholarship, but I got a spot on the team and went and played. I thought college baseball for me was going to be a discount on education, like 100%. I never saw baseball as a career. I saw it as an absolute passion, something I really loved to do, but I never thought that I'm going to be in the major leagues, right? And after my freshman year, I just didn't enjoy it. Like, staying in the four guys to a room, having to do the laundry because I was a freshman after games and all this kind of stuff. Like, it just wasn't for me. The 35-hour bus ride down to San Diego to start the year off, or 24-hour, whatever it was, the forever bus ride. Um, and then just everything that came with it, I was just like, this is way different than I expected. And I found myself in a spot where I was playing summer ball in California and just got lucky enough to play with a guy that was a respected member of the Marshall Thundering Herd team. And basically, he told me, he said, "Dude, if you can get your release from your college, this is way old college rules. So if you can get your release from your college, like I guarantee you, like if you walk on to Marshall, like you could have a spot." And so I ended up finally getting my release on like a Thursday. School started at Marshall the next Monday. I flew out on Sunday, my very first plane ride ever. Get there. I'm not even enrolled in school or anything. I move into the dorms, not even enrolled, not even like it's just an empty space with three other ball players. And I start sending me to classes that I'm not enrolled in. I finally get into school. I go out for fall ball and I give up like 2 hits. And I go into the head coach's office at the end of the fall ball. I mean, you throw a lot of innings in the fall. And I go into fall and I say, hey, I really like it here. This is my dream, right? But the idea of being in crippling debt and wearing $15,000 to $20,000 a semester of education, I did the math, and by the time I get out of here, I am going to be crippled with debt. So I was like, I'm going to be looking to transfer to a junior college back in my hometown in Oregon. And the coach said, "Can you give me 24 hours before you like make that decision final?" And I said, "Yeah, no problem." And I came back the next day, and he handed me a 98% scholarship to stay. And so that was kind of the first like big like moment that I was like, man, like somebody believes in me enough to actually be giving me an absurd amount of money to stay at their school and play for them. And I was so I played that whole year, and about halfway through that year, I had another gentleman in my life help me because I gained a lot of weight back. So like I was Big Dan, Skinny Dan. I was Big Dan again. Big Dan was 250 at like 30% body fat. Like again, not a ball player um, by like the definition. So I'm sitting in the outfield in Tulane during batting practice on a Thursday, and we have this. He's this guy. He was scouting. I forget who he was. I think he was scouting for the Rays at the time, but he also ran a high school summer team, like a travel team over in Cincinnati area called the Midland Redskins, and his name was Behi. And I said, "Hey Behi, what's it going to take for me to get drafted next year?" And he just said, "You know, short little story for you, Dan." He goes, "The kid had all the talent in the world, but he couldn't get out of the buffet line. Just think about that." And I was like, man, like kind of wore on me, right? Like that was like again, tough to hear, tough to like process as a kid. And I ended up getting back to Marshall on Monday. I went straight to the weight room and went straight to our strength coach named Joe Midday. And I said, Joe, what can I do? I I need to get stronger. I need to lose weight. I need to do all this stuff. Like I'm realizing that like I'm not who I need to be if I want to get drafted. And Joe worked with me, and Joe worked with me. And the first thing we did is he had me jump on a treadmill and said, "Go run 3 miles." And I was like, "Dude, okay." So I get on there and start jogging. Took me like 40 minutes. Like I had to take breaks. Like it was rough. And he said, "I want you to start doing that pretty much every day." He's like, "Start doing that. We're gonna start lifting this weights. We're gonna change your program a little bit." Before you know it, I turned around at the end. I came back after that. I finished up that season, went back to the same summer team in California, and I came back the next year and I was 205 at 10% body fat, and it was like, hey, we need to add on now. Like we went a little too far, but good job. Lost 45 pounds, gained a lot of muscle, and all of a sudden, like I was 92 to 94, um, which I could do that as I was a bigger guy. I could do that, but I couldn't do it consistently every like a whole game, right? And now all of a sudden I'm sitting 92 to 94 pretty much whenever I need it, and it just like changed it. So in that process, I started believing in myself. I started realizing, hey, like I'm better than I give myself credit for, right? And it's something I say to kids all the time now. Anybody I'm working with, any teammates I'm playing with, I always say, hey, don't let me believe in you more than you believe in yourself. And that was kind of my moment where I shifted that when all of a sudden I started believing in myself more than the people around me believed in me. And that kind of like mentality of just like I'm going to do whatever it takes. And so I was in college, so we do college kid things, right? On a Friday night with no baseball on Saturday, and I stopped doing that kind of stuff, right? So I stopped trying to go to the parties and be the social guy. I was just like, I'm here to play baseball. I'm going to work towards that. So I would go take my teammates wherever they wanted to go. I didn't have a car, so I'd drop them off. I'd drive over to the university rec center and I'd work out. I'd run. I'd play basketball. I'd play racquetball. I would just keep moving. And then I'd go back and take a shower and go pick them up at 1 or 2 in the morning and get everybody home safely. And then I'd wake up the next morning on a Saturday or Sunday, and I'd go run as far as I possibly could. So like the first day I did that, I think I made it like 6 miles, and then before you know it, I was running 10 miles plus every weekend, just around Huntington, West Virginia, just leaving from campus and taking off and just going wherever I could, um, and just going and just really trying to just really bought into every single piece that I had. And so it was kind of like that whole, there's not like this big like one moment, right? It's like that whole process of like a year and a half, 2 years that really honed me in on this. And then even when I got drafted, I was a 24th round draft pick. That doesn't even exist anymore. And I was like surrounded by all these guys. All of a sudden I wasn't the only one that could touch 94. Like this wasn't the day of like guys, multiple guys throwing 100, right? Like we might have had one in the minor league organization that threw 100 at that point. This was the different time in baseball. And so I showed up and I'm just like, dude, there's a lot of second round, fourth round, fifth round, eighth round, seventh round, all were pitchers in my draft, and then many more in the teens. And then there's me at 24. And I was just like, all right, let's just go, and I had this like ringing in the back of my head where my college coach was trying to get me to come back, and he was like, dude, you don't have what it takes in pro ball. You're not going to make it. You're going to go there for 2 years and then turn around and be done. And like, you might as well come back to school and finish your degree and do all this. And so a little bit as an FU, I just kept working, kept going. And I just really wanted to make sure I made it past that 2 year mark just to kind of shove it in his face. And I know that's not maybe a healthy mentality for it, but that was what I was as a 21, 22-year old, was I'm going to figure out how to go farther than this guy anticipated me to go. Which also too, I really like, as I've never been a college recruiter, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that that's not a good way to get somebody to stay at your program, is telling them they're not good enough to go to the next level. But just like there's a lot of deeper stuff with that, but I was just like so driven, and it wasn't until I got to double A baseball, honestly, that I realized like I have a chance at this. Like I have a shot. I have a legit shot at this. And everything just kind of started lining up. But like the things that I fell in love with that got me there was all the mundane things. It wasn't the striking people out. Yeah, that's fun. It wasn't even necessarily pitching every fifth day that I fell in love with. It was the process of the shoulder care. It was the weight room in between starts. It was the being passionate about getting enough sleep, getting the right sleep. It was those kind of things that really like allowed me to like realize that like, dude, I have a chance to do this because I just have to stay focused and essentially check boxes with focus and work ethic every single week, and I'm just going to keep getting better at this thing.
Definitely, yeah, and that's it's an amazing story on how you got to where you are and how that dream just kind of took place over time and built off of one thing over another, like how it started from, hey, let's just make this a thing where I don't have to pay for college or go into
Yeah.
college debt. Turned into a real thing where we're playing eight years in the bigs, 17 professionally, three leagues, and just being an inspiration to a lot of people out there. And it's really a great story just because, yeah, I mean, you don't hear a lot of stories like that, and everybody has their own, and that's why we're here to tell them. But I wasn't there obviously during draft day, but what did it feel like on draft day, and finally getting the call that the Oakland A's were going to take you in the 24th round?
There's I was in I don't remember the cities exactly, but I was in the Northwoods League and I played for St. Cloud. And on draft day, draft day one, not even close, right? Like I didn't even sniff a call. Draft day two, I think it was. Um, I figured this is the day I'm gonna go. It goes through the 25th round. I had told my parents that if I get drafted in the first 25 rounds, I'm gonna take it. If I get drafted after the 25th round, I'm gonna have to really think about it because at some point my education does become more important. At some point, like I've always been kind of a realist, but I was just like, at some point my education is gonna be way more important. And so we were on a bus ride, and this is back before everybody had a smartphone. So we had a laptop open. We were watching the draft via the Wi-Fi on the bus, and at this point, there's no more TV screen. It's just like a radio sound where it's like, the Detroit Tigers select draft ID number 7274632 Tyler Straily. Like that's what the draft sounded like when you're listening to this thing, and like half of like everyone on our team that was a junior was listening very, very closely. Well, we're pulling up. We're like halfway through this bus ride, and we're stopping for lunch. And so the 24th round just started, but like I'm the last one on the bus, and I'm like, all right, like let's go in and get lunch. Come back and if happens tomorrow, then it'll happen, and I'll have to think about it. And I kid you not, like as I'm opening up the door to the restaurant, my phone's ringing. Don't know the number. Answer the phone. Hey Dan, this is Matt Ranson, area scout with the Oakland A's. Congratulations, dude. And I was like, congrats for what, Matt? And he was like, oh, the A's just selected you in the 24th round. And like I just got chills, but and I was just like, seriously? And he's like, yeah, congratulations, man. And he's like, they'll be reaching out. Someone will be reaching out, myself or somebody else will be reaching out to you in the next few days and go over some stuff with you. Have a good day. And I was like, Matt, before you go, I'm supposed to pitch tonight for my team here in the Northwoods League, and like, should I do that? And he's like, yeah, go pitch, go pitch. And so like, yeah, imagine the emotions going on, right? Like, so I go in there, eat lunch. I'm just like, I don't even remember what I ate. I honestly don't. I don't know where we were. Um, and I go back to the hotel, and I got an incoming freshman on my team, and he's my roommate. His name's Tony Rinda. I'll circle back to that in a second. But I go in there and I go out and pitch that night. I know I went 7 innings, gave up 1 run, and was just like, oh man, I hope the A's were watching that, like kind of deal. Like I know they drafted me, but like all this kind of stuff. And calls me a couple days later, and he's like, hey, so the A's want to offer you $10,000, the rest of your education paid for. I can explain that later if you agree. And obviously we'll pay for your plane tickets to and from anywhere you go, and all this kind of stuff. And I don't have an agent, right? So I'm just like, is there like, can you get me more money? And he was like, well, how much? And I was like, I don't know how this works, Matt, but I'll, any more money. And so he called me back like 30 minutes later, and he's like, we'll do 12,500. And I was like, sounds good. Like that's more money than I've seen in my entire life. So I was like, sounds good. And so he sent the papers over. I signed them. The next day I flew to Arizona, right? The Tony Renda thing. I'm getting a little off topic with this, but fast forward, that was 2000 and 2009. Fast forward to 2016. I'm in. I'm a Red, Cincinnati Red, and I am 0 for 50 at the plate. And I have a teammate, and his name in the big leagues, his name is Tony Renda. The kid that I shared a hotel room with for one night in the Northwoods League is my teammate. And I'm over 50, and Tony just hands me one of his bats and says, "Just try this one." And I go up there and I get my very first hit with his bat.
Oh yeah.
So just like a really random fun fact, but yeah. So I like the draft day process for me wasn't this like glamour. It wasn't even like a I've made it moment. It was like a like next step done, check mark. Like it was just like so much just like pride, accomplishment, just feeling amazing. The fact that like somebody believes in me enough to select me to their organization. Because remember, I got selected to one All-Star team as a 10-year-old, one All-Star team as a 15-year-old. I got lucky enough to get a D2 scholarship. I got lucky enough to get a D1 scholarship. So this was really like my fifth time in my whole career that someone was like, "You're good at baseball. We want you." And it felt damn good, bro. It felt damn good. Um, and I had no clue what I was going into. No clue. No clue how little I would make. No clue that I would end up on food stamps as a minor leaguer. Like no clue. But I was just like, sure, let's go. This is my dream. This is my passion. Like let's go for it. And so signed the papers and off we went.
Definitely. I mean, that's awesome. I was way too young to even remember it at that point. I was 3. I was thankfully old enough to remember your debut.
Right.
Um, but what were those bus rides like? I know nowadays a lot of guys do different things. Mafia's a big game now on the buses. Um, what is like one of your most memorable bus rides, whether it's in Korea or the States or whatever level it was? What was one of those like memorable bus rides where you guys were just kind of like having fun and it's just one that you'll always remember for the rest of your life?
Man, so we were our very first day of Double A baseball. We drive from spring training Arizona to Midland, Texas, which is not close. It's a really far drive. We're there for like that's just on your cars. That's not even in a bus. And me and my buddy AJ Griffin, how they just loaded everything we had into his Hyundai, and we took off. And we a couple days later, we have a couple days of practice. We got to drive to Northwest Arkansas, and I'm like, all right, whatever that means. Well, that's like an 18-hour bus ride, and we're leaving at like 7 p.m. Like or no, we left in the morning. We left like 7 a.m. or something crazy. I don't remember. Maybe it was like a 24-hour bus ride. It was really far. I don't even remember how long it was. Um, and whoever was in charge, I always carried around this like giant stack of DVDs because this was the day and age I grew up in, and we those were the bus movies, right? And so everybody like we just kind of start picking movies, and everybody's just watching movies because very few people have smartphones. You're just kind of stuck to texting and whatever movie's playing, and they're always played way too loud. And since I was the youngest guy or one of the youngest guys, I was doubled up, and it was just brutal. But it was the first time I'd ever gotten off of a bus and went straight to like breakfast. Like we got off the bus at the hotel and we all went to Denny's. And I was just like, dude, we just like literally got the worst night of sleep ever and are going to now eat breakfast at Denny's, go double up in a hotel room, get a couple hours of sleep, and head to the baseball field to play. And I was just like, all right, let's do it. And like it was just like one of these things where like at the moment you just grind through it, you just do it, right? There's no complaining because we're all doing it together. And you get through that moment and you're like, I really want to pitch well because I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Like I don't like this. That sucked. So like it's not like this like I don't know. There's way too many bus rides like to I'm just like to even comprehend or think about like one specific. But that one right there like stood out to me just being the longest, grindiest day of my life of just like I wish I had an iPad, but they didn't exist yet. So it was just like me and my iPod just rolling through trying to text somebody, anybody, have any kind of conversation, and just get off this bus.
Definitely. Were you guys big Mafia players like throughout your career, or not at all?
No,
Not.
not at all. I don't even know. Like, if you explained it, I've probably heard it, but like, I don't. Yeah, we can do that another time. But no, we never played Mafia.
Yeah, I know that's a big thing nowadays, just to pass along bus rides. Um, what was your first call up story like? Or we'll go further. No, we don't have a lot of time, but what was your call up story like when you finally got the call and it was like, hey, you're headed to the big leagues, Dan?
Yeah, so I went off on an absolute bender. I had like 19 quality starts in a row between Double A and Triple A. My girlfriend at the time, no, she was my fiance at that point, right? So Amanda, she had taken a few days off of work. She was a college student in Oregon, and she was working at a bank, and so she took a few days off of work, and she flew down to, or yeah, I think she flew down to Sacramento where I was playing, and it was the first night she got there, and I was supposed to pitch like on Thursday, and then they were like, well, we're actually gonna push you to Friday, and then it is gonna be Thursday. And then like again, they're like, oh, it's gonna be Friday. And Amanda's just like, I'm only here till Sunday. Like, they just like, can we just know so we can go do some other stuff besides just baseball? And I was like, yeah, like, well, this is what they're telling us. And so she gets there on Wednesday. I go and chart the game in the stands because we used to have to do that. And I go and drop my chart off, and like I'm ready dressed, so like I'm ready to leave. Like because you had to wear like a collared shirt in the stands, and so like I was ready to go. So I drop my chart off, go back, grab my backpack, and I'm walking out, and pitching coach is standing in the hallway. He's like, "Hey, dude, like, what's this?" And he's holding my chart up. I was like, "That's the game chart." And he's like, "Dude, come here. Like I need you to actually like focus on the charts. Like this isn't gonna work. Come here. Like we need to talk about this." And so he takes me to the manager's office, and the manager just looks at me and goes, "I got two things to talk to you about, but first one, like we do need you to do a better job charting." And I was like, "What are you guys talking about? Like I've done the same charts for like 3 years. Like I can do this in my sleep. Like I didn't mess up with the chart. Like I know it's right." And he was like, "All right, next thing I got to talk to you about is fall ball, like the fall league baseball." And I was like, "Yeah, well," I was like, I know it's an honor and I really want to go." I was like, "But I'm getting married in December." And so I don't know, like I just need to know some dates and stuff like this. Like my fiance will understand, but I just need to know dates, and no one's been able to give me dates yet. And he just goes, "All right, well, you got a couple more days to think about it." And he's like, "But really think hard about it tonight, and then tomorrow when you get into Oakland, just make sure you let them know if you're going to be able to go to the fall league or not." And I was like, "When I get into Oakland?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you. You're pitching against the Blue Jays on Friday night." And like I just like, "Are you serious?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then he just like started gave me a hug, and there were some happy tears, and we were just like, "Dude, like thank you. Like thank you. Like wow, like thank you." And I was just like, "All right." And so I come outside, and at that point someone had gone and told the clubhouse that I was getting called up. And so I walk around the corner with the manager, and he's like introduces me to the whole clubhouse as like the next big leaguer for the Oakland A's, and everyone gives you hugs and high fives, and it was just like a really cool moment. Like this was back before they filmed everything, but it was like it was really cool. And then I walked outside, and Amanda was standing up in the parking lot, so I walk over to where she's at, and I was like, "Hey, they told me when I'm pitching." And like one of my teammates is like driving by with his wife, and is like, "Hey," she like the wife like pokes her head out, and she's like, "Congratulations, guys." And like my wife looks at me, and she's like, "Huh?" And I was like, "Oh," I was like, I'm gonna pitch on Friday." And she's like, "Oh, good." And I was like, "But I'm not gonna pitch here. I'm gonna pitch in Oakland against against the Blue Jays." And she was just like, "Are you serious?" Like I was like, "This is like so meant to be." Like I hadn't seen her in all summer, and she comes down for a couple day visit, and now we get to go have this moment together. And so the next day, I was actually borrowing my college roommate's grandpa's truck because my truck could not have made it down to my '97 Ford Ranger could not have made it all over the West Coast. So I was borrowing his truck, and who they lived right outside of Sacramento, and it was in the shop. And so I had to my host mom drove me out to my college roommate's house 45 minutes away, and dropped us off, and we picked up the truck, and we actually have a picture because my roommate was like, "Hey, dude, like let's take a picture of you and Amanda before you guys go." And so we have this picture of like me and Amanda as like little babies looking compared to now. And we took the photo. We drove to Oakland. I was supposed to wear like a collared shirt, which I had, and like dress shoes. I didn't have dress shoes, so we stopped at Nordstrom and paid for them. But like I didn't have enough money to like really pay for them, so I bought the shoes, wore them to the stadium, and then the next day we went back to Nordstrom and returned them. But I couldn't afford them, man. And so we came down there, and it was pretty late notice. I told everybody I knew, and ended up having like over 100 people drive down from Oregon to come support, family, friends, family from Nevada, family from Southern California. Everybody made it, dude. Everybody made it that they could, and was very blessed to go have a quality start that night. Uh, I think it was like at the time it was like I was the 10th person all time to throw 70 strikes in a major league debut, and we ended up playing 18 innings and got home at 2 a.m. And I walked in the hotel lobby, and everybody that could stayed and was there waiting in the lobby to like greet me back, and it was just like this like unbelievable like I made it moment, right? Like it was just unbelievable. And still to this day, like one of my favorite baseball memories. It's like anything else in life, like getting a chance to realize a dream, especially have that like that kind of support and family around. It was just absolutely incredible. But it was just my favorite story, my favorite call-up story because it was mine. And I was very fortunate enough to be at the like having a really good time as a pitcher, like really successful outings as a pitcher. And just everything was rolling my way, and that just continued on to me going to a playoff team, getting called up, and being a part of a playoff run for the very first time.
Yeah, that was an awesome debut. I mean, I was thankful to be there to watch it, and from the little I remember a little bit of the hotel afterwards. There's a little bit of sleeping in between. I mean, when you're only like seven,
Right,
you got to get your nap in. But
right.
it was awesome just to see you accomplish your dream and finally get there. And thankful I was part of that. Um, but I'll ask some minor things that are definitely shorter, and then go to some other stuff. But I gotta
Okay.
ask, like, who was the coolest strikeout of your career? Like, obviously, probably a legend or someone that you struck him out, and you're like, man, that's got to be the coolest strikeout I've ever had.
That's a tough because I was very fortunate to play against a lot of really good ball players. There was my second major league start. Um, in order, I struck out Mike Trout, Torrey Hunter, Albert Pujols to start the game. That was probably one of the coolest because it was literally my second start in the big leagues. That game didn't go nearly as well. I think I went 5 innings, gave up 4 or 5 runs, but like it was, I think we won the game, but because Zach Greinke didn't have a great day against me either. But we, that was probably one of my favorites. But the list kind of goes on and on, to be honest. Like um, Trout, like he's a great player, right? Striking out Shohei a few times was pretty awesome. Ichiro, got a chance to strike out Ichiro, which was, the guy that I grew up just like in high school and everything, pro ball, everywhere was just like, he was the best player on the planet. He was the Shohei of my time at the beginning of this. Um, and so, yeah, just kind of some of those Hall of Fame names that I was very fortunate enough to play against and strike out. Um, Man, but my most memorable strikeout might be the very first hitter I faced in the big leagues because it was like a 13 or 14 pitch at bat. And Jackson and I actually watched the game the other day here at our house. And those listening, Jackson's my 8-year-old son, and it was clearly ball four. Like when I watched the video again, it was 93 mile an hour fastball right down the middle, but it was definitely low. But I got the call, and that was a big sigh of relief because anybody that's listening, like when you pitch, like the pregame anxiety never really goes away. Like you're always to this day. Like I just finished a couple weeks ago. To this day, there's like anxiety going into it, and it's not about anything else other than like I'm like, man, am I gonna throw strikes today? That's because that's like literally the game, right? And so for me, it's like once I throw that first pitch and get that first strike, it like changes my whole. I'm in the zone. I'm ready to go. And to get my first strikeout on my first hitter faced, I think is probably my most memorable. Even though I struck out bigger names, I think that Brett Laurie is probably my most favorite strikeout of my career.
Definitely. I do gotta ask. Out of, I mean, eight years in the bigs, who is the coolest teammate you had? Like, who is the coolest guy to share a clubhouse with that you
Oh
love
man.
the most?
Well, the coolest guy I got to share a clubhouse with was Ichiro. Like to me, that's like kind of a like just like getting a chance to watch him just on a daily basis. His routine, the way he approaches the game was amazing. And then outside of like the fame of playing with Ichiro, was Tommy Malone. He was to this day somebody that I still talk to, connect with, go to Disneyland with their families. Like we kind of went through this whole thing about the same time together, and just really have been there for each other the entire time, on and off the field, to just talk about stuff and be there for one another. We both dealt with different things. Tommy dealt with way more injuries than me, but like it's like just this back and forth relationship that has turned into a lifelong relationship. And those of you that play ball, you realize there's a lot of at the field friends you have, and then there's as you get older and longer you play it, like there's fewer away from the field friends. And Tommy for me will be a lifelong away from the field friend.
Definitely. And yeah, I'm sure you've had a lot of those. I mean, you've shared the clubhouse with so many good guys. I mean, Brandon Phillips. That's one that rings the bell for me, especially meeting him and such a nice guy at the end of the day, and his family and his wife and his little son. Was a great memory watching you go dice up the lifelong fan of the Dodgers, dice them up, and then getting to play catch with Brandon Phillips' kid. That's got to be like an all-time mark for me. But obviously, like you've played in the KBO, but hopefully one day we'll come back to another episode and talk more about that. But we'll go into the last like little thing before we go to our last little like fun segment. But what does the love for the game mean to you? Definitely. And then two more questions on this side of it. But what's what's something you want to offer to others to know about like the heart of pitching? What do you want to like? What's something you could offer like to other people listening, especially younger guys, about just loving the way you pitch and just about pitching in general? Definitely. And then the last for this little segment, what's your current relationship with baseball? Obviously, I know you can only say so much, but give a little hint to the people if you can. Like, what's the next steps for you now that you're done playing? Definitely. And so that's awesome. But our last segment of the day, it's gonna be quick, but do it every episode. Actually have some different questions this time. Got it mixed up. It's basically just gonna be rapid fire, as quick as you can responding, no thinking at all. Just first thing that comes to your head, just fire it off. All right. All right. Favorite stadium you've pitched in? Toughest hitter you've ever faced? Funniest teammate ever? Favorite baseball movie of all time? Favorite ballpark snack? Oh yeah. No, no, no. Just flashy shoes to the field or just comfortable shoes? Favorite kind of glove? Favorite brand of shoe to wear for cleats wise? Seeds or gum? Snapback or fitted? Well, that's oh controversy right there. That's true. That's true. That's true. Well, that's all the questions for today. And so there you have it, guys. A full ride through the journey of Dan Straily. Mostly a full ride. We'll get into another episode one day, deeper into the other parts of it, Mexico and Korea. But always looked up to this guy. Always learned from him, and I hope his story fired you guys up today, like it did for me, bringing back some memories. If you're a pitcher out there just trying to climb the ladder, or someone just trying to fall deeper in love with the game, hope you take Dan's words to heart. Big thanks to you, Dan, for joining me today, and to all of you listening. Don't forget to subscribe, drop a rating, follow us on our socials on Instagram and Twitter now at Pitchers Pulse Podcast, and we'll also be going up on YouTube as of this week. This has been Pitchers Pulse Podcast, episode 6. Until next time, keep competing, keep grinding, and keep that pulse strong.